What's up, everyone? I'm Thor coming to you from Computex 2024 in Taipei, Taiwan. Let's go, nerds! Now, before we get into any ASUS coverage, I want to address the elephant in the room. Of course, there are current concerns, it's the hot topic right now, on how ASUS customer support and RMA processes are harming certain customers, certain situations. And this has been going on for a little while. There have been promises made in the past. And of course, we're hoping that ASUS will treat this with the seriousness it deserves, taking accountability, saying what they're going to do, and then executing on that statement. So, moving forward, though we will get excited about certain products, because that is you have to understand, ASUS is a massive company. And the team that handles RMAs and customer service is very different from the product development team and marketing teams and the people who are excited about the new products they're trying to show off here. It's a very different team. So what we're going to do, we're going to move forward looking at these new products. We can feel free to get excited about them, but my recommendation on purchasing any of them will be contingent upon ASUS enacting a plan to fix the problem and keep the problem fixed. All right, enjoy the video.
What's up, everybody? Thor here, Computex 2024, in one of two ASUS booths. Y'all are going hard in the paint, man. That's crazy. I'm here with JJ, of course. As y'all know. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to be able to show you guys some pretty cool stuff. I think we're going to show you a little bit of mix of some kind of product that's not necessarily final yet, but kind of maybe where the industry might be going, seeing kind of what your thoughts might be, maybe how this could be influencing maybe designs of the future. So I think we're going to start off a little bit on that side and kind of see maybe about the next generation of what memory could be looking like on a motherboard. So,
okay. So this has been in the news lately.
Right? Yeah, this has been in the news. So traditionally, most of you guys are probably pretty familiar with, of course, a traditional DIMM slot based on a motherboard. This is actually using a CAM2 based design. This actually comes right now from a new standard that was developed predominantly for laptops.
Right.
It's important to keep in mind that laptops, you don't have a lot of space in a laptop. It's called limited Z height. So this type of design was optimized to give you high density, high speed, and a really, really, really small footprint, right? But our team also evaluated, could there be a benefit to doing this on a desktop motherboard? And so what we're actually showing here is 48 gigabytes of DDR5 running at 8,000 MT. So definitely very, very fast. But there are some considerations to keep in mind. Take, for instance, if you notice, there's screws.
Yeah.
You actually have to lay this down almost like you lay down a CPU. There's actually pins, and there's a pad. Kind of place it down, you screw it in. So what do you think?
More pins to bend for you guys. There you go. That's going to be great. But no, okay, so I remember when CAM2 came out for laptops, and it was, people were speculating on that for, like, would this be a desktop thing as well? So, I remember when that came out for laptops, and it was a cool concept. And even the most, the most cynical out there were like, okay, that's kind of cool. All right. But I'm going to talk about the least important thing right now when it comes to the looks. It looks weird.
Yeah, no,
it's
definitely.
Weird how it's like there's a void there.
Yeah, it's as a void, and that's one of the things that, of course, we want to account for. On a really premium design and system, we definitely want to have aesthetics as mindset. So there is some discussion on our team on what we could do to evolve the look and feel. Again, this is not saying that we would purposely do it on ATX. Maybe it might make sense to do this maybe like on a mini ITX system, where then you could have more spacing here to have something like a screen, reduce the actual impediment of having cables being able to pass through within that spacing.
Do like a thing, how you layer M.2s right now?
Yep.
You could do your CAM2, M.2, that kind of thing, and have vertical stacking there.
It could be, although
like that.
You'd have to be cautionary with thermals, especially with, non-binary memory does run a bit warmer, but I think the main thing is here, we're just interested in saying, what is your guys' thoughts? Do you want to have something that could maybe be more compact, give you space to maybe put a screen, reduce kind of cables, or do you would kind of just prefer the tried and true traditional DIMM layout? So just a little bit of kind of what the future might look like. It's not necessarily set as being something you guys will see, but you just wanted to show you a little bit of an example of where maybe this could be going and what it would look like on a traditional desktop board.
I'm just waiting for y'all to come out with the modules. They have the large heat sink and the screen on it.
And then
ASUS ROG style.
I got you.
Computex 2025.
All right, 2025.
You heard it here first.
We'll see what we can do. Let's go ahead and maybe take a look at what the next generation of maybe AIO cooling could look like.
Okay, so check this out. If you want to come in and take a look at this. Look at that. There you go. So tell us what we're looking at.
So the big thing that we're doing here is that this is, of course, a BTF system. The whole point of the BTF system is to have a really minimal look and feel for an overall system, right? Now, one of the things that we were trying to do with this type of setup was take the feedback from users that were saying, hey, we love the really minimal vibe of BTF, but is there a way to essentially even reduce the cables even further? Because normally in the BTF system, you would still have that big kind of cable set that would be going off the radiator. So we have a redesign, essentially, housing with the pump, and then a very minimal
barbs
tubing
go to the
out.
central.
They go
The
straight
center.
up to the top.
Yeah.
And then you can see we have a much larger 6.7-inch OLED 2K display, right? So big, bold, bright, and sharp. And
So
then
yeah, okay.
to add a little bit of a flex, right? Yeah,
Can
a
I
little bit
do
of
it?
a flex.
Can I do it?
No, not on this one. It's a
Okay, all right,
prototype.
I can't do it.
It's a prototype, but it is a foldable base display. So we'll actually be able to go over here to the side, and you'll actually be able to see that it does curve and it does fold. So you can see actually this is the evolution and be able to offer something really distinct,
Yeah.
really cool, really different. So again, you can see that with that ultra high resolution of 2K and the OLED, being able to really go to the next level and really have ultra high quality visuals, right? Animations, videos, right? Even the dimensions, being able to have that more kind of just cinematic aspect ratio,
yeah,
right?
That's what you're looking at.
You
What's
can
the aspect ratio on this?
This I don't.
It's 16:9, right?
Yeah, no, it'd be closer to a more ultra wide aspect ratio, right? But I think overall, you can just see how much more compelling it is than what your traditional solutions have. So this is totally a concept. It's not a product that right now we have in the pipeline. So you're not going to say, JJ, when can I buy it? But again, we're trying to just show you, hey, would this be something excited in? If you were building a system, right, would this be maybe a reason to go with one integrator versus another integrator?
Right.
Right?
If they carry it or don't carry it, right?
Whether they do carry it or not carry it. So, let us know in the comments, what do you think about this type of design? I mean, for you, just looking at it in its raw form, we're still looking and evaluating. Hey, do we want to maybe go with a proprietary single cable that would be really
That's
clean and really
exactly
minimal?
what I was going to say. That is
It's
exactly
proprietary,
Yeah.
but we can reduce cables, right?
Well,
so
I mean,
what's going to be the strategy there?
It's like those TVs that have that one box that you hide away with one cable going up to it.
Yeah.
That part, of course, that part's proprietary. But as long as the other connections are all non-proprietary, to me, that's fine. Because if you're trying to eliminate cables, that's a lot of cables. And that is kind of front and center. So I think that might be the way to go. But let me know if you disagree with me, which of course I always welcome disagreement. Like it's called discussion, and that's how we advance.
I would agree. So go ahead and drop the comments, let us know. So kind of continuing here in the evolution, there's a really exciting collaboration that we're showing off here with our friends over at Fabricate, and then Asetek, and then ASUS. And what we're showing here is really the next generation of cold plate design and production. So traditional cold plate design, which you can see right here in the images, use an older process called skiving. And skiving has worked really, really well. Generation and generation, our friends at Asetek can continue to be able to reduce, let's say, thermal resistance and improve performance, but we've kind of reached a wall. And the big benefit that you can have now with this what's called additive manufacturing process, which is essentially 3D printing.
3D printing, yeah.
But it's an entirely new form of 3D printing, which is actually using electrochemistry, where it's actually using liquid copper, allows you to actually achieve outstanding geometry that will be specific to the topology of your actual cooling requirement. So let's say Intel architecture has specific hotspots that you want to target, you could design the actual cold plate specific to that CPU. AMD, equivalently the same thing. And we could even be extending this into integrating this into our GPU-based solutions.
Right.
So not only do we have something that is ultra performant, right, but also even when we talk about the actual production capabilities, it's actually very sustainable, performant, and scalable. So some really exciting elements.
Sorry, I put that on I don't know what possessed me to do that. You had it on a chain.
You wanted a little bit of the flex.
It looks
was
sick. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna. Okay, that's really cool.
Very exciting.
So we're talking about really, really fine 3D printing.
Correct.
I mean, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
To very, very, very. I mean, thousandths of an inch.
Yeah, it's super precise, right? And the crazy thing is the actual production process, it's actually taking that liquid copper and actually having it handled on the atomic scale. I mean, it's absolutely super impressive, the granularity, the control that you can have for the geometry and being able to optimize things, like I said, specific to the intended actually cooling requirement.
Right.
So really exciting thing. We're showing it off here with a little bit of a concept block design that we have in our upcoming Ryogen water block. So that's going to be utilizing an ASUS tech-based solution, but this is kind of showing what could even be the next version of that, taking performance to the next level. So again, maybe something you're not seeing right now, but would this be, again, something compelling to you? Again, maybe an SI partner working with ASUS to skew in our cooling solution.
Right, you go through them or a boutique builder.
Exactly.
Right.
Would this be a turn, would this be a motivator? Would this be like, man, I'm gonna get just this much better experience, this much better performance?
SIs, are you listening to that? Because read those comments. We'll see what they say. So when you said the new Ryujin water block,
Yep.
do you mean for the open loop custom liquid cooling?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
So that one actually will be dropping next month. So if you are interested and you want to be able to have actually a really cool, let's say, water block solution from an SI, you know, maybe actually ask them, you know, ASUS has an actual LCD water block. I'd like to see that integrated. So something to check out if you're interested. It'll be dropping this month, and hopefully we'll be seeing partners integrate that as far as some of their offering.
Okay.
All right. Well,
all right.
Let's go ahead and take a look at maybe some next generation power supplies.
Let's do that.
All right. So I've got a power supply for you guys here, and I know on face value, power supplies don't necessarily seem super exciting or interesting. There's a lot of manufacturers that are offering it. But what I actually was more interested in showing you is how we're trying to innovate to offer an improved experience. So you got here our latest generation Strix series power supplies, fully modular, you know, actually it's using GaN technology for the MOSFETs, super efficient, really big heat sinks, a lot of cool stuff. But the interesting part is this little pink.
I noticed that.
Right here,
I did notice that. So
and
tell me about it. Is that would it got a sensor there?
If we go over here and we actually take a look at the cabling, you'll actually see that on the actual cable, there's going to be one connector and there's going to be another. Now this will connect to the power supply. On the other end, you're going to have the connector which goes to the graphics card.
Okay.
Now why do we do this? That's because we actually have a dedicated GPU voltage stabilizer. So traditionally in most power supply design, you're essentially not going to have a way to monitor the GPU directly.
Right.
And you can't adjust its actual power distribution based on the GPU. So with this actually design, we can actually sense the graphics card's what's called transient response.
Right.
And we can then more efficiently provide it power. And what this ultimately translates into is actually better stability when it comes to things like frame rate, because you can essentially provide more sustained power that's more actionate, more immediate.
So frame consistency, kind of things like that really can affect your experience.
Yeah, along with the boosting behavior, it can essentially be better stabilized and ultimately have more performance. What's the number? We're still doing essentially testing, but on average, we're probably looking somewhere in the range of about 2 to 3%. So it is a measurable increase, which is pretty cool. And again, if you're kind of looking for top tier performance, just a way that we can help to evolve that. So there's always kind of different things that we can look at to help to increase the experience. So just a cool kind of feature that we're going to be integrating into our next generation series Strix power supplies and our Thor series power supplies.
Yeah.
And again, with that being something you guys would like to be seeing when you're kind of looking for a top tier performance spec. Right?
Well, what I'm wondering though, because I mean, that seems to me like something that could also benefit the longevity of a GPU.
Yep.
So what, I mean, we don't need to get into cost of connectors and things like that, but what is the likelihood that this could trickle down to like top series power supplies, like your more entry level?
It's definitely a possibility. I mean, I think with any one of our technologies, as we put them in, you know, cost of design to development and to implement is generally always going to be at a more costly scale first, right? And so, but there's a lot of features and functions that we've started off first on R&D, and then over time we've brought down into other series, whether they've been tough gaming or even our Prime series models, right? So there's definitely a possibility with time, and also with, I think, interest in people saying, hey, we really appreciate this feature set, put this into product, right? And so that could definitely be an example. A great example of that is our ejection mechanism on motherboards.
Yes.
They first started on ROG boards, and now we brought them all the way down onto like tough gaming models, and even actually system integrators. I had a great call with Stints built.
What's up, Jeff?
And they were talking to me, and they were like, you know what? This is a great option that we can provide to users that, like, if they have an issue and we're talking to them, we're troubleshooting on the phone, it's now much easier for me to just tell them, press that button, you can pull the card out, you can push it back in, lock it in, and it's a much easier experience. So even something that we designed for the DIY user can still be implementing to the normal user in a pre-built system.
It's one of those features where it's like, why isn't this on everything? Like Tool is M.2.
Yep.
I just had to deal with M.2 screws, and I'm like, I thought I would never have to do. I don't ever want to mess with that again. It's the worst.
You don't want to drop the screw. You don't want to strip the head. It's just so much more convenient to be able to have the latch mechanism and lock it in place.
Absolutely.
But let's look quickly one other little cool item right here. So This was just a little bit of flair, a little bit of swag. I just wanted to show you guys our new Thor series power supply. It's pretty cool. We actually now have a new pogo magnetic design.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
the main reason why we did this is that we had some builders that, depending on where they wanted to orientate and position their Thor, they would lose the display. Because if they, let's say, flipped it over like this, they wouldn't have had the display anymore. But now, you can go ahead and remove the protective cover right there, and then you can pop that back on there. And you can now, it'll reorient it, and now you have your actually wanted display, right?
All right.
So,
you know what? Props. That's good. I like that.
So a cool little design up there. So just showing you guys a little something kind of cool, right? So, you know, this is interesting because it's not something that I think people would think that we would produce, but the Milor I think is a really interesting product, and I think it is very applicable to people that buy pre-built systems. We know that a lot of people, when they make an investment in a system that's very expensive, you know, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, they care about knowing that their system is safeguarded, protected from surges, spikes, sags. What happens if you have a brownout, you lose power, maybe you lose your data, maybe you're passing that damage potentially over to very expensive components, right?
So I tell all of y'all in the how to set up your new PC, get a UPS. It is very much worth it. So that's
or
what
at
we're
a minimum,
looking at
at least get yourself a good
really
surge
good
protector.
yeah.
You know, so here, this is going to be our Milor. It's a 1200 watt UPS and high performant power bank. So you've got everything from 100 watt USB-C on here, of course AC connection so that you can go ahead and power an array of devices. You'll actually be able to power a 4080 class system, even if you lose power, and be able to hold that for a sustained period of time. You're also going to have a cool hat trick where this has actually wireless charging, and even this guy is a detachable flashlight. So when that power goes out, you can go ahead and use this as a flashlight.
Because, you know, when y'all debuted the product, there was like, oh, really the handle? But no, there's utility to this. Huh? Okay, we gotta clear it up. Okay, we had to hit pause for a second because, you know, Pat Gelsinger walked through, it was no big deal. Anyway, so, now, I got to see these at the HQ, and I was really excited to talk about them, so let's do that. These are really cool looking. Tell me what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so I think, you know, overall what we're showing here is that essentially with BTF, we're attempting to kind of highlight what different systems could look like, right? If you're attempting to essentially offer this cable-free experience, it means that you can begin to re-envision the look and feel of a system, right? The one that's closest to really probably being a production type of offering that you could potentially see offered from like an integrator could be something like this, which is our Z22, which is pretty interesting. Under here, you actually have your traditional space that you would have like a mini ITX motherboard. You'd have all your I/O connectivity, you have your power supply, you have your cooling solution, and then you would easily be able to have access to your graphics card. Now, from a user perspective, it's pretty cool because you could buy your system and pretty minimally be able to upgrade it. All you have to do is click this button, get your new graphics card, plug it in, and then that's it. So really simple, refined, minimal experience, all your high-speed I/O. You also have flexibility in how you can orient the system. Most traditional systems are only designed to kind of be upright and vertical in one position.
Right.
But here you actually have this kind of cool deflection tube, which allows kind of air to be brought in. But you could also remove this and entirely lay it flat, or you could also tilt it up and have it vertical. So you can actually have the system positioned in 3 different ways, have a compact, ultra performance system, and keep in mind, this is running a Z790 based motherboard, right, along with a 4090. So you're not talking about any type of compromised performance, but in a very small footprint, right?
Yeah. Now, is this the kind of thing? Now, you remember we were talking about Cam 2 on ITX. I mean, that kind of thing could really play
That's
into
where
this.
there could be an advantageous
that Z height right there.
Exactly.
You can start putting.
You want more room to be able to have maybe cables that are more accessible, or just more space for other items, right?
Yeah.
So that could be a possibility. On the other side here, we have an amazing modern builder.
Wow.
Who came out and he custom fabricated this entire chassis. This is absolutely amazing. He did it in April. He started in April.
Oh,
and
my
in June.
goodness.
Keep in mind, we still have to count for shipping and everything. This is an absolute impressive feat for him to custom fabricate having a BTF unique solution, which is pretty crazy because this little guy right here is actually using what's called a quick disconnect system.
Yep, I was wondering.
So this is actually custom water cooling here that can be disconnected to be able to give you very high thermal dissipation performance, but still be able to have great clock speeds and also still maintain that BTF level of accessibility. So while this is a very custom option, at the same time, this is something that if, let's say, an SI wanted to fabricate, if they had the ability, they could be offering something like this. So then the question begs itself is, again, should you be pushing your SIs to say, look, take advantage of now these new part offerings that we're offering to be able to offer you something that has a new look and feel to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could totally picture Kel Reeves going nuts over this. So Falcon Northwest, if you're watching.
So overall, some very, very cool designs. Let us know about what you think about this kind of like level of kind of, let's say, more forward-facing design, prioritizing the accessibility of the GPU, having this more outward visible appearance, whether maybe you would rather have something like a shroud to maybe cover this, right? You know, maybe something that would be softer and finished, maybe different textures, or maybe even a big covered top screen, right? Who knows?
Did y'all consider at any point calling this one the Surface to Air?
No.
It looks like it's, okay, I'm sorry.
Not yet, but you know, we've had quite a number of people that, you know, they've coined items like a bazooka or Surface to Air.
Who was holding it up like, was that you holding it up like that at the thing yesterday? Okay, well, I don't know.
Not me, but overall some cool designs. But let's go ahead and check out a couple other things.
Let's go. What are we looking at here? I see ProArt stuff. I like ProArt stuff.
Yeah, so you know, we've kind of gone from the gaming side to a little bit more on the ASUS side, our ProArt series side, which is more intended for kind of professionals and creators. We do actually have a number of great system integrators that do use our ProArt series products. So I don't know, in the comments, I mean, have you actually asked the community what the split is? Do you kind of have, do you see more kind of creators? Do you see hybrid users? Do you see a mix of users?
What we generally look at is 45 to 50% of the audience that has submitted forms for PC matchmaking want to do streaming.
Okay.
And it's actually around 35 to 40% want to do content creation.
Okay.
That's it's a crazy number, but when you think about the fact that this kind of career has just been blowing up in the last 5-10 years, you have to sort of adjust your mind for that a lot of people are gonna at least want the ability.
Right.
To
Gravitating to want to be able to dabble in some form of quote unquote content creation.
Right.
So, you know, this is just a new update that we have within our actually LC series. So we had a 420 millimeter based offering. So this is now a 360 millimeter offering. It is kind of cool. If you guys don't know, this is pretty cool from our partners, our friends over at AlphaCool. They've actually made a metal based fan. This is actually the AlphaCool's Stealth.
Sick.
And so one of the reasons why we decided to couple it with our cooler is because the rigidity of the actual fan frame helps to give it a really nice noise profile. Such even as it goes to a higher RPM level, it keeps a very kind of soft kind of hum to it, as opposed to a little bit more of a grating sound. So here it's important that for something like a ProArt product, which might see sustained heavy usage.
So you're talking about tuning the audio frequencies that are generated by, say, your actual fans and everything around it. Okay.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why ProArt coolers have also leveraged Noctua-based solutions, because they have great sound signatures. So just, again, something is that's interesting to see. Is that something you guys are consciously thinking about when you're buying a system? Not just, of course, the performance, but the noise profile, right? Like what's going to be the usable experience that you might appreciate within the design of the product, right?
It's something that I like to help people be cognizant of, because when you're thinking about your setup, don't just think about how much RGB you're going to have in there and how many FPS you're going to get in your games. Think about how it's going to affect your environment. If you live in a really hot environment and you don't need an i9, or you're really, really high, you're not using all of those cores, you're just gaming, you have to realize that generates heat, and then you have to live in that heat. It is going into your room. So I try to help people be a little aware of that stuff too, because you get excited. You don't necessarily think about the minutia of that. But
no, for sure. It's a really valid point. Always try to think a little bit more contextually, a little bit more real world of what's kind of the total experience you might have. And so thinking about the total experience, I actually do want to kind of show a couple of little cool of our ProArt monitors. And the reason why I want to kind of maybe end around on monitor side is monitors are quite interesting in the perspective that when you build a system, regardless if you're building for content creation or if you're actually building from a gaming perspective, they will drive a large amount of the configuration requirement. An example what I tell a lot of people is I go, if I'm going to be gaming and I want to game at let's say 1440p and 240 hertz, that tells me what GPU, what CPU I need.
That's part of that form, is what resolution you want to game in. And it has a lot to do with how much of the budget goes into the GPU if you're on a strict budget, and all of that. And if it's low refresh rate, high refresh rate, low resolution 1080p, you need some more CPU in there to handle all those frames. And there's sort of a calculus that comes into it. But I say calculus, it's not that complicated. But yeah, the monitor is a huge part of it.
But you just definitely don't want to be conscious of it. And same thing like on the creator side, if you're somebody that's going to be working more on YouTube, maybe 1080p as opposed to 4K uncompressed video, that will help to dictate the type of system you need. And so just on that monitor side, we're just showing off some of our latest additions to our lineup. Here you're going to see our flagship 8K mini LED based display. So this is an AK
I want it.
4000 zone mini LED display,
Oh.
really designed for somebody that's looking for that ultra level of fidelity and an ultra high performance level of HDR. This panel can hit over 1600 nits of brightness and really be able to offer an amazing picture quality experience.
I honestly don't know if I want to see myself in that kind of resolution. Maybe 10 years ago, not now. But yeah, go on. That's awesome.
Moving down from 8K, we're actually also announcing 2 new displays where we're going to have a 6K 32-inch base model and then also a 27-inch 5K model. So these offer really just high pixel density, really great sharpness, and just outstanding image quality experience, again, for great production workflow where you can have, of course, your content, you can proof it, you can feel confident in what you're seeing, and also be able to give you that PPI is going to be super sharp for text, really be able to give you a great experience.
Pixels per inch.
Yep.
I'm talking about. Yeah.
And generally, of course, pixels per inch, the greater the pixels per inch, the sharper the display will be. And that goes hand in hand with the size of the display and the resolution of the display.
That's why whenever you're looking for certain size of monitor, you do need to be aware that, like, if you get a 27-inch 1080p monitor, that's low pixel density. It can be. And once you get up to 32 inches, 1440p is on the lower end of pixel density.
You can start to maybe notice a little bit more of kind of what the pixels, it might not necessarily seem as sharp, as clear, right?
Right.
So just something to account for.
Now let me ask you about this. Calibrated out of the box?
Yeah, all ProArt displays are factory calibrated, and actually even on the gaming side, if you look at any ROG monitor, whether it's a Strix series monitor or whether it's a Swift series monitor, they're also all factory calibrated.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So the last one is a pretty exciting addition that we also have, which is going to be the PA32 UCDM. This will be our 4K 240 hertz OLED professional series display. So again, whether you want to go for traditional LCD, non-mini LED, to mini LED, to OLED, we do have a range of offerings, and again, they will kind of define themselves based on your workload and based on your use case, right?
Yeah.
A lot of great options to just keep in mind as you're kind of a professional. What do you need? Do you want the ability to actually have something like daisy chain support, where you can actually pair 2 monitors side by side by connecting the monitors as opposed to running the cable to the graphics card?
That's nice.
That is a
Okay,
difference in a professional display as opposed to, let's say, a gamer-centric display. So a lot of little subtle things that you want to keep in mind, even little things like, do you want high-speed I/O built into your monitor? Like this one has 4 high-speed USB ports built in. So if I
They
want
say
to be
high
able
speed,
to,
talking about 5 gigabit per second.
actually 10 gigabit.
10 gigabit, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and other displays we have even have Thunderbolt or USB 4.
Oh,
so,
nice.
you know, if you want to be able to connect your high-speed card readers, right? If you want to be able to connect external storage drives, right? High-speed Thunderbolt-enabled docks, right? Think about the whole experience you're looking for. So overall, that just gives you a little bit of some of the really cool stuff that we're introducing at Computex 2024. I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts on. What was maybe your favorite piece of hardware that you saw? And is there something you'd like to see us be doing that we're not doing?
Okay, cool. Well, there you go, guys. Thank you so much, JJ. As
Fantastic,
always,
man. Thanks
always
for
great to
coming by.
chat with you. And stay tuned for more coverage of Computex 2024.